A new Wordle puzzle is online. Click on the link to play.
Listening to the following video may give you clues. Please like and share the videos.
Why a Russian TV host refused to apologize for a mock nuclear attack? Why did a Russian TV host refuse to apologize for a mock nuclear attack? The host was speaking to a studio audience with accompanying animation.
Although he did not specifically mention Ireland by name, his remarks clearly implied that Ireland would be a collateral damage of a Russian attack. Television graphics also show Ireland being destroyed.
So is this just a case of delusional Russian politics? Russian TV host refuses to apologize for mock nuclear attack.
A Russian TV host has refused to apologize for an outrageous segment he broadcast last week mocking a nuclear attack on Britain. In his studio, Dmitry Kiselyov described a hypothetical scenario where the Russians launch a nuclear attack on Britain.
The program showed a submarine launch a nuclear torpedo off the coast of Donegal, Ireland. While the host did not mention Ireland by name, he implied that it would be one of the casualties of the attack, as the graphics show Ireland being completely destroyed.
The BBC reported that Kiselyov's comments had caused an uproar in Ireland. Taoiseach Micheál Martin had called for an apology by the Russians for their mock nuclear attack.
In the same vein, a veteran MP in Russia has also refused to apologize for broadcasting anti-Western threats on state television. The veteran MP's comments were filmed in 2013, and his speech was aired on the state TV channel.
Professor Dmitry Yevstafiev has also refused to apologize for his remarks, calling the footage utter nonsense. Russian TV presenter is a mouthpiece for Russian President Vladimir Putin.
Anything he says on air is effectively the official views of the Kremlin. His comments illustrate how delusional Russia is regarding neutral countries.
He also illustrates why the Putin regime is incapable of understanding the world outside its borders. Even the most jaded person cannot pretend to understand the nuances of international politics.
Despite the repercussions of this propaganda, the Russian TV host's remarks remain unapologetic. While Dmitry Kiselyov is a friend of Vladimir Putin, he refused to apologize for the statement.
He continued to say that Ireland was flying into rage over the mock nuclear attack. While there are many questions over the Russian TV host's statements, the incident is certainly worth pondering.
While Putin's remarks did not mention nukes, the Sarmat missile suggests a nuclear attack is imminent. The Sarmat missile is one of the most advanced weapons ever developed.
The Sarmat missile was tested in February and is far more powerful than any other weapon in the world. This statement echoes the Russian president's declaration of a special military operation last February, which he said would have consequences that no one else in the world could ever imagine.
These threats by state TV echo Kremlin propaganda narrative. By threatening nuclear war, the Russian leader has already stoked fears of a Third World War.
Nevertheless, the threat is still very real. This escalation of rhetoric is aimed at gaining more influence in the West.
As Europe continues to be shaken by a series of conflicts, many fear that the threat of nuclear war between the two countries is increasing. Britain is providing self-defense weapons to Ukraine, while refusing to send troops to the conflict zone in Ukraine.
In response, Vladimir Zhirinovsky warned that war was inevitable and would destroy New York and other major cities in Europe and thus, Russia's foreign policy is delusional.
Russians are increasingly turning against Putin and his policy in Ukraine, and the damage to their national reputation has been immense. Finland and Sweden are considering joining NATO, and Switzerland has ended its policy of neutrality and imposed EU sanctions on Russia.
Germany is determined to stop relying on natural gas from Siberia, a relationship that lasted through the Cold War. But is Russian foreign policy delusional? Obviously, the answer to that question depends on the individual, but a few trends are apparent.
In order to combat this trend, Putin pursued a strategy that he called the Heartland. This strategy challenged the EU's broader Europe approach and aimed to prevent an extended Great Game between the superpowers.
The strategy was built on three interlocking policies. First, Putin believed that a cooperative Russia would participate in global affairs.
Ultimately, it would become part of the transformed Greater West, which would eventually be the global counterpart to Greater Europe. This vision of a united Europe still exists, albeit in a distorted form.
It is unlikely to be realized in a time soon, but the idea of a greater Europe still exists and is a perennial aspiration. In 2007, Putin made an important speech at the Munich Security Conference, highlighting the problems that Russia faces in Europe.
He cited several personal grudges against the West for ignoring its security concerns. This effectively spawned a neo-revisionism in Russian foreign policy, which has dominated the country's foreign policy since Putin took office.
Additionally, Putin's foreign policy demonstrates a resentful attitude towards the Atlantic hegemony that Russia does not share with. Russian leader is also delusional and not concerned with the economy and the future of his country.
The Russian public is suffering, and Putin seems to be out of touch with the everyday lives of ordinary Russians. While Putin's foreign policy is delusional, his generals can't do much to change it.
So, the next step is for a new generation of Russians to step up and take the initiative. They have to make amends for their past actions, rebuild trust with its neighbors, and rebuild Russia's global standing.
Since the Maidan uprising in Ukraine, the Kremlin's decision-making process has become highly centralized, with few alternatives being heard. The Kremlin's decision-making process, in part, is based on a distorted perception of the Maidan uprising in Ukraine as a threat to its strong state.
As a result, the government has tried to suppress independent media and political opposition. Russia's worldview is rational.
Putin's assertive foreign policy surprised many in the West, but it is an extension of his worldview, shaped by decades of accumulated experience and resentment towards the West. While his goals have changed over time, his fundamental objectives remain the same: the preservation of the Russian regime and the end of American hegemony.
These objectives are at odds with those of the West, but they have not been at odds with each other for 20 years. The Russian media narratives provide a fascinating glimpse into the emerging geopolitical worldview that may have dramatic consequences for the international order.
This narrative positions Russia as a moderate geopolitical actor against the recklessness and corruption of the Euro-Atlantic world. These narratives, along with other factors, reflect Russian citizens' perspectives of the United States, its role in the world, and its rivalry with the West.
The West has embraced the Manichean clash of civilizations discourse, which views Russia as a backward nation that deserves collective punishment. In contrast, the West is obsessed with American exceptionalism, based on the idea that it has the unique civilizational entitlement to impose its values abroad.
While the U.S. is more aggressive than many democratic leaders, its worldview is shaped by broader cultural features. The fundamental opposition of the Russian worldview to Westernism is between religion and philosophy.
Religion is viewed as an essential part of building a just society and is therefore a legitimate part of building such a society. Those who share the views of sophiology also argued for the role of religion in building a better society.
Ultimately, the ideas of sophiology became the foundation of Cosmism and Bolshevism. Putin's aggressiveness has many Europeans asking why he would attack Ukraine.
There are many possible explanations, including Rasputin, but many Europeans are unable to fully understand the motivations of the Russian president. Radicalization experts, historians, and political commentators say that Putin is fighting for a holy nation,